There's quite a long history, even in the last 30 years, of people doing constructed photography and photography that looks at, identity. And I'm thinking of, Anza Halker and others, Rose Farrell and George Parkin. It seems to me that Rex Butler makes a very good point about your photographs, in the sense that a lot of work is discussed in terms of posing or identity, whereas in fact we all perhaps love to pose, and we all perhaps love to perform at times. So it's kind of an extra to our personality. And when one reads about your work, you get the sense that Olympia really loves this performing.
Well, I think we all do, because the minute we wake up and think about what we're going to wear that day, it's about dressing up and where am I going to go, who am I going to meet, what do I need to wear. Well, so I think it's ingrained.
What is the context? How do we fit into today?
Exactly. And I think we're all guilty of doing it. So I think Olympia is just doing probably what all children do. And what we do as adults, although we don't talk about it, we do dress up in the same way that children do. I mean, they love to dress up and put on mum's clothes. If the little girls put on mum's clothes. But I think we do that too. We think about colour, and we think about what to wear every day. Well, I think most of us do.
Yeah, and we choose to belong to a tribe, and we dress according to the rules of that tribe.
Indeed, and this is why some people like to wear designer clothes, and especially with the labels, the logos printed on the clothes, because they like to belong to that tribe, or possibly they feel that their status is perceived differently according to the clothes that they wear.
And you looked at that very issue in a whole body of work.
I did.
Setting people wearing Prada or Polo branded shirts alongside of quite classical and royal images, which is...
To make the point that I think the fashion designers are the new royalty today, that traditional forms of royalty are perhaps no longer relevant in our society, that is based on almost people are driven by material concerns. And I just wanted to make the point about consumption and identity.
I mean, you've combined a couple of roles by, you're a mother and you're an artist, and you've kind of come to, your work is often, by and large includes your daughter. So you've combined, in one very practical sense, being a mother and having to parent and being an artist, and you've kind of, sometimes parents feel that their world is entirely situated around children rather than adults, but you've actually managed to make an adult life through being a mother on a daily basis and making the work.
Yes, but I've also been very interested in documenting who they are and what they do. And I know a lot of my work has been constructed around ideas, and the children have acted in my work. So it's not pure documentary in the sense that I'm documenting their lives. But I couldn't imagine, I've always been interested in making work about childhood, and even before I had my own children, I photographed other people's children. But I can't imagine using models for my work, for example. I like to have a relationship with the people that I photograph, and also I think they're more likely to disagree with what I want to do. A model, for example, wouldn't. If I said I'd like you to do this, they would do it because they're being paid and they're used to following instructions. And it's actually really wonderful working with my children, because they do say, no, that idea stinks, can we do it my way? And often their way is so much better. So it's really good to collaborate with them.
There must be a kind of a crossover in a sense, or I'm kind of curious, I guess, about the relationship between your childhood memories and Olympia's childhood and how they kind of intertwine, because some of the work comes from your childhood, doesn't it?
Well, I guess when you go back to the first body of work that I made, Elvis, Immortal, and then the drag queens and the bodybuilders, it was all based on notions of identity and dress-ups. And growing up as a Greek in the 1960s, when I feel that Europeans weren't as assimilated into Australian culture as they are now, you know, for 40 years later, I didn't know where I belonged. And I was searching for an identity. I even had a name that I felt very embarrassed about. So my name was anglicized to Pauline when I was at school. So I just never knew where I fit in, whether I was Greek or Australian. So I was always interested in the question of who we are. And I think that has informed my work. And I don't think that I experienced a childhood possibly in the same way that my Australian counterparts did, because my parents both worked and I was responsible for looking after my younger sister and brother. So from about the age of 5, I worked. I was expected to clean the house and to cook and to shop, and I had a lot of responsibility. And in a sense, when I had my own children, I just wanted to experience that freedom that children have. I mean, I did have the freedom to do what I wanted to, and I think children don't necessarily have that today, even though I was expected to do so much around the house. Once I had done that, I could escape. I could just wander off into the streets for hours on end. I didn't have to do anything. There wasn't any pressure on me to do anything other than help my mum and dad around the house. So when Olympia was born and we started playing together, I wanted to document that. And for example, with the Lewis Carroll work and Wonderland, the first time that I read Alice in Wonderland was to Olympia. I didn't read it as a child.
Well, I knew who I was when I woke up this morning, but I must have changed several times since then.
Who are you?
I'm Alice, at least I think I am.
I didn't grow up in a household full of books or art or anything like that, you know. I lived in working class Port Melbourne. My parents worked in factories. I had traditional migrant experience, even though I was born here. So I was very interested to observe how children play. And when reading Alice in Wonderland to Olympia, I just thought, wow, you know, I didn't come to this as a child. I didn't experience this as a child. So I was overwhelmed by it. But that's not to say that Olympia, I'm just restaging my childhood or just wanting to experience what I feel I missed out on through her, because I don't feel as if I actually missed out. I think today children live such restricted lives, and I think that possibly, even though I didn't have the books and the toys and the clothes that she has, I experience more freedom than she does today.